Hello, Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And today is the last week in my 3-week wave with chains for speed work. And we bumped the weight again, and actually I'm about to go to a straight percentage-based system for my 3 waves, because fortunately for me, I now have the equipment to measure all my band tension correctly. So since I know how much exact band tension I've got at the bottom and top, moving forward on all my big lifts, I know exactly where my starting strength is at the bottom of a box squat, even with bands, things like that, so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and just run flat percentages as what usually works well for raw lifters on dynamic work, and just base it on whatever my current maxes are. So I'm going to be tracking all that a lot closer, and I probably won't load through the waves. I just want to handle the heaviest weight I can use for speed work, and it still be speed work, but still rotate through 3 weeks of bands, 3 weeks of chains, and just adjust the weights moving forward. But this time it was 315 for 10 sets of 2 with chains. And for those curious, that's 65 pounds of chain. Most of it is unloaded at the bottom, obviously not all of it, so we have more than 315 at the bottom, but not a lot more. We're talking about maybe 10 pounds of chain weight, so about 325. And then we're locking about 380 for the speed work, which is actually pretty close to where I need to be. So if I want to just run my straight percentages later, this is about where I would need to be for all my waves. So again, but we'll rotate through the bands and chains back and forth to deal with accommodation. And if need be, I can always adjust band tensions and stuff later also, because I have more than these 2 sets of bands, or will shortly, so that I can work with all that a lot better. So this went pretty good, actually, and these were relatively short breaks. And some people had pointed out, at least a couple of people said, I don't think you're squatting to parallel on that box. Go check the community tab. And I don't know how you guys access a community tab, but people can. They're commenting and posting and liking my photos on it. I did a screenshot of showing that I'm about 2 inches below parallel as far as the crease in the hip below the knee when I'm at the bottom. And I'm obviously using the same box. You guys can see it's the exact same brand of box. Believe me, I don't have a whole collection of boxes that are 2 inches lower than what I use. These only come in about 3 sizes as far as what I get, because these are Titan Fitness boxes. They don't make a plethora of sizes. You get what you get. And I got a really good deal on these on Amazon. So that's why I have these, and they're capable of holding the weight I want to use. So we're clearly going below depth, and we want that, because if this is going to translate into powerlifting and we're going to box squat, you never, ever, ever want to box squat for any amount of volume higher than your meet legal depth. That's a real bad idea, because you don't want to get into the habit of stopping short. You don't want to get in that habit. You always want to go below depth. And for me, one of the things you guys will notice that I promote for raw lifting as opposed to equipped lifting is what? We don't do partials, right? I'll do accommodating resistance, but why? Because if we want to, in theory, overload the top, we still need the bottom to be trained, right? You still have to train the point in a lift where you have the most mechanical tension on a muscle. And if you know you need to change your deceleration curve, or you want to handle the heavier weights at the top, that's fine. You add chains, you add bands. But you don't skip the bottom. You can get away with that if you're going to compete equipped, but I'm going to recommend for raw lifters and people pursuing general size and strength that you don't do that. And there's plenty of research showing why you don't do that, even from a hypertrophy perspective. The worst thing you can do is to do half reps or short range of motion partials when you're trying to maximize size. Every study that's ever looked at it has concluded that it just causes less muscle growth, even if you double the amount of weight you're using. So we want to stick with accommodating resistance for that sort of stuff, and we want to get full range of motion on these exercises, right? We want full range of motion, and that includes the box squat. You know, some people said, hey, could you really break down what you're doing in this stuff? Could you break this form of training down? I'm so far ahead on informatives. I've actually already filmed that. I have made an 8-part series of 10 to 12 long minute videos discussing all that. Breaking down what the max effort work is, what the dynamic effort work is, repetition method, how you weave them together, how they program together with the periodization. Like, I've got all of that into an 8-part series, but it's going to be a few weeks probably before I get it uploaded, because I have so many other informative videos ready to go. Because people forget sometimes, like on a Wednesday or something when I'm not training, I'll film 10 videos. I'll film 10 videos in one day, just back to back to back. Film and render. And a lot of times I'll be filming, while others are rendering. And so it's all there. So I will have all that for those curious. It's coming. It's just going to take it a little while. And eventually when I experiment more with this and get more of it under my belt and start to continue to improve, I'll go ahead and put a lot of this into an ebook for you guys. It's not really high on my to-do list at the moment. I know a lot of people are like, you could make a lot of money off that. I know I could. And it's on my eventual to-do list. I've just got other things kind of going on, and I'm just not in the right mindset to do it. When I am in the right mindset, though, I'll probably put you guys together a training ebook, charge like $20 or something for it. It won't be anything extravagant. I think some of these $50 to $80 ebooks that some of the people are putting out, you're not getting good value for your money. You really aren't. That's just my opinion. All right, speed pulls. Speed pulls, again, for those curious, can't count. That's 375 on the bar, right? Right? 330, right? You got 655-pound plates plus 45-pound bar. And then we have 65 pounds of chains, and we have all 65 pounds of chains coiled up there. So, again, maybe 10 pounds of it at the bottom, all 65 at the top. And I cranked out 8 doubles on this today, but by the end, my thumbs were killing me. They're killing me. Although the upside, what I'm finding more is that I seem to do really well with a slightly narrower grip on the Sumo, and I like that. So as I continue to do some more grip work later, because again, I'm going to start adding more grip work in. I want to get my grip stronger and stronger. I feel like that'll be my limiting factor possibly on this. So I want to get my grip stronger, because I feel like my actual thumbs on the smooths is really my ideal hand position, right? And it's a little easier on my hook grip, meaning that knurling is fine a lot of times, like up against the end of my thumb and around my fingers and my palm. But that super coarse knurling just shreds my thumbs sometimes. And so just having my thumbs on the smooths is actually kind of nice in terms of just being able to do more total reps without just shredding my thumbs. Plus, notice my hand position, right? I'm straight up and down there. So I really like that. I really like that a lot. I've just got to keep working the grip work. And the other thing, again, people are going to notice, I'm not doing anything that loads my back anymore other than squats and deadlifts. And it's because I want to keep adding more deadlift volume. I want to be able to do heavy deadlifts and the deficit deadlifts on my max effort days always, even after squatting. And I want to be able to do a fairly high number of speed pulls. And so in order to handle the axial loading, I have to cut other stuff out. And this is why I'm doing stuff to where I'm doing rows and things that have no load on my spine, right? And I'm doing the lightest weights possible for even things like good mornings. Like good mornings, I'm doing a neck harness because I'm getting just the most leverage there to train my thoracic erectors and neck and everything, while really kind of minimizing the total loading of it on my back. And to handle my back, I just do tons of hyperextensions and I do tons of ab work and everything for my core. But again, dealing with overall fatigue, I really need to unload my spine so that I can do more of this deadlifting. Now, you guys are going to notice some of those, it seems like I'm not holding it at the top. I'm just coming up and right back down immediately. And that's because I'm getting my thumbs, because they're a lot more sore on some of these sets than others. It's like if I take a really short break, if I do 60 seconds or 90 seconds, a lot of times my thumbs are throbbing again. But if I take 2 or 3 minutes between them, like one of these, I think after the 5th set, I took like a 3-minute break and then came back and it felt really easy. It was a lot easier on my thumbs. So for my next 2 sets, and then the very final set, set number 8, and my thumbs were just throbbing again from that hook grip. But this is one of the things I'm noticing. I really like the speed work as far as just training my grip, because I'm having to hold the lockout. And when you're pulling against the chains or the bands at the top and it's getting heavier as you accelerate, it really jerks on your grip hard and it really makes those thumbs dig in. So if you're not set in tight, you can feel it. So it's forcing me to get that hook grip stronger. And again, when you're doing like 16 total reps with that hook grip and then you have that lockout, because the bottom is only so heavy, dealing with 385 at the bottom for the speed work. But the lockout where you're up around 440 that I'm having to hold, and then I'll try to figure out my band tension on that too. And for those curious, I'm just using a digital fishing scale. Right, it's letting me check at different points. Like if I hook my bands up across my band pegs over whatever, I can check the point where I'm at the bottom on a squat bar and then at the lockout, and I can pull it and see that. The same thing with the reverse bands for the benching and everything. I can hook that thing in there and then pull it down to where the band would be pulled down to chest level on my bench, and I can measure the weight against that digital scale. So that's what I'm able to do, and it's really beneficial. It's going to let me really dial all this in perfectly where I want it. And I got that from Chris Duffin, by the way. I also decided today to try these chest supported rows, right? These things are hard. And yes, I had to use the pad on there. Why? Because I don't want my expensive bars banging on steel, right? Steel on steel is not good. I pay a lot of money for good bars. I don't want to chip that knurling up. I don't want that then sitting on my shoulders later for squatting. And I don't want to damage my equipment. I pay good money for my stuff. And people who beat metal on anyone else's equipment are complete jackasses. Like anybody who does those rack pulls and stuff inside of someone else's power rack, they're a piece of shit, and they should be called on it. In fact, I'm going to call Scott Herman on that again coming up here soon, because that, honestly, no matter what else good he does, that makes him a piece of shit. Makes him a shitty person if he's doing that with other people's equipment. Because it has no benefit. Ever. There's no benefit to it other than to destroy equipment. That's the only benefit, because you don't like somebody. But that aside, these things are hard. These are way harder than pin leg rows because you can't use any inertia. Pulling from the dead stop, and then what I might do a little bit too is hit them up against that top and see if I can start holding them some and pull for some isometrics there. Again, just to help with my bench tightness. But man, no loading of the spine, and I can't even handle quite the way to handle on a pin leg row. These things are hard. And I did, 4 sets of 12? Even with 155 pounds. 155 pounds. These things are tough. And no, it's not the seal row, because apparently some people have talked to me about seal rows, and I look at this and people are flopping around like a seal in there. No, I'm staying tight. Like I'm having to actually just pull with no body inertia. Just get in and pull. But you know what? I actually felt it in my lats. I don't ever feel rows of any type in my lats, ever. I'm almost worried my lats are going to start growing more. They're already big enough. I guess we can never have a back that's too big for powerlifting or for looking like an orc, can we? Is it even possible to have a back that's too big? I don't know if it is. But they're not fatiguing. So this might be a mainstay. It might be a mainstay in my training. Hip belt squats, we got a PR. Now, I was worried the first set I wasn't going quite low enough, so I focused on going a little deeper. And it's hard to tell from this angle, because a lot of times from this angle back here, things don't look the same as they do from the side, as I've showed you guys with. I think people are shocked. It looks like 3 inches deeper. Someone said that when I put up the picture of the depth on the boxes on the box squat on the side view versus the back view back here. So sometimes it can be hard to tell, but I feel like this first set, yeah, absolutely, it felt too high. I was just getting used to this weight, getting in my groove. Still getting a stretch reflex though, and then the next 2 I really focus on sinking it and then popping those knees out so that my hips would open up and I could get deeper. Because that's kind of the beauty of this wider stance also, that you're going to find once you get used to hitting depth with it, it's going to stop you an inch or so below depth. So it lets you get a stretch reflex at a higher position. So that's something that I've talked about a little bit with the foot position of one of the reasons some people do that wider stance is, if one, it gives you better leverage, is just keeping with torso staying upright. Number 2, it can train you to get a better stretch reflex slightly higher, so that you don't necessarily have to go ass to grass to get that deep stretch reflex. So there's a lot of mechanical advantages to doing this, to lifting more weight. So I'm really using the hip belt squats to train it. I need to build these muscles up with something that's going to give me enough training volume to work all the muscles in my lower body associated with this, to work on the mobility, the strength, the hypertrophy that doesn't load my spine at all, so I can come in and do a lot more volume with it. And this fits the bill. But these last 2 sets I got nice and deep, where I could tell that it felt the same as my depth on the box squats. The size of my quads makes it hard to tell, but I should probably eventually film some of these from the side so we can really get a good depth judge. but going on feel, it actually feels right. So we'll keep working with it. I'll keep working on getting as deep as I can. But I got 3 sets of 8 with this weight. Last time I got, what, 5, 6, and then 7. Well, this time we got 8 all the way across. And that's what I want. I want to increase volume on this. I want to get these up to where I can basically load the maximum amount of weight this chain is rated to hold safely, which I'm 30 pounds away now. Get up to where I'm doing sets of 15 or something with it. And at that point, my quads should be pretty damn big. But after this, I'm going to go do some glute ham raises and maybe some abs and probably call it a day. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.